So in 2025, the feminine care industry didn't just change a little bit, it was completely remade from the ground up. We saw a series of massive strategic deals that just redrew the entire competitive map. It really consolidated power and forced every single major player to rethink their whole playbook. Okay, let's dive into this tectonic shift. And what was the spark for all this change? Well, how about over $7 billion in combined deal value? Yeah, this wasn't some minor transaction. This was a high-stakes reshuffling of iconic brands, with the big headlines being Kimberly-Clark's huge acquisition of Kenvue's portfolio and Edgewell making a strategic exit from the category altogether. So you gotta ask, what's really behind this multi-billion-dollar game of chess? Well, it's a story about market pressure, the constant hunt for profitability, and a really fundamental change in how these companies plan to win, especially in a market that's not really growing by volume anymore. Let's break it down. All right, so these deals have basically created a whole new hierarchy of power. We now have the undisputed giants, a newly formed super challenger, and then what we're calling strategic retreaters, companies focusing their firepower somewhere else. This is the new landscape. This financial snapshot, it really tells you everything you need to know. First, you just see P&G's massive scale. Their revenue just dwarfs the competition. Then you have Kimberly-Clark and Kenvue, poised to form a really strong number two. Meanwhile, Edgewell's sharp drop in revenue, well, that pretty much signaled it was time for a change. But you know the most telling number on here? It's that operating margin. Kenvue is the clear leader in profitability at over 25%. That's a huge sign of an incredibly efficient structure. So what's really interesting here are the two very different paths to power these giants are taking. On one side, you've got P&G playing the long game, organic dominance. I mean, with over 30% of the market, they can command premium prices and just rely on their massive scale to drive cost savings internally. But on the other side, the new Kimberly-Clark Kenvue team-up, that's a bet on acquired scale. They're combining huge brands like Kotex, Stay Free, and Obi to build this powerhouse portfolio, all designed to give them more leverage with critical retailers like Walmart. And for Edgewell, the decision to get out of the game was driven by numbers just like this one, a catastrophic 45.8% collapse in their feminine care profit in just a single fiscal year. You know, this wasn't a slow decline, this was an absolute free fall that made the business unsustainable and forced a major pivot. Now, to manage this exit cleanly, Edgewell used a classic financial strategy. It's called a big bath. They took a one-time charge, $51.1 million, to write down the value of the business before they sold it. What this does is it cleans up the balance sheet, making the rest of the company look more profitable and efficient going forward. It's a way to kind of rip the Band-Aid off all at once. So the crucial point here is this wasn't just about cutting their losses. Edgewell's sale was a really calculated strategic retreat. It let them take the $340 million they got from the sale and plow that capital back into their core businesses, wet shave and sun care, where, let's be honest, they have a much stronger competitive position and a much clearer path to actually grow. But you know, the fight for market share isn't just about branding and getting shelf space anymore. The new battleground is in the science lab, and it's all centered on material innovation and sustainability. This quote just captures the new reality perfectly. Sustainability has gone from this nice-to-have marketing feature to a core mandatory requirement just to even be in the game. And that seriously raises the barrier to entry, because developing and sourcing these advanced sustainable materials, that takes a significant investment in R&D. And this whole transformation has turned material science into a powerful new financial moat. What I mean is, the companies that own the patents on the most effective, the most comfortable, and the most sustainable absorbent materials, they're building a competitive advantage that is incredibly difficult and expensive for anybody else to overcome. And this just brilliantly illustrates P&G's unique advantage. Through their 5-vector strategy, they use their colossal R&D budget across completely different parts of their company. So they can take core absorption tech developed for a fabric care brand like, say, Tide, transfer that materials science and apply it directly to feminine care brands like Always and Tampax. The result? Better product performance at a fraction of the R&D cost. It's genius. Okay, this brings us to our final critical theme. Because of demographic trends like declining birth rates in key markets, the total user base for these products is actually shrinking. So the game is no longer about selling more units. It's all about maximizing the value from every single sale through efficiency and making more premium products.
And look, in this industry, winning at Walmart means winning, period. This chart shows you just how critical that one single retailer is. It accounts for a massive slice of sales for every single major player. And it's exactly this concentration that makes that new channel leverage from the KC and Kenvue merger so vital.
At the end of the day, in a market driven by value, operational efficiency is what separates the winners from the losers. And that efficiency shows up right here in these operating margins. Kenvue's lean structure, which was designed from the ground up after its spinoff, is delivering best-in-class profitability at over 25%. That's the metric that really matters when volume growth just isn't on the table anymore.
Which brings us to the ultimate question, really, for the future of this whole industry. In a market that's defined by shrinking volume, which of these giants is actually best structured to win on value? Is it going to be P&G's R&D-fueled organic machine, or is it the new combined scale and retail power of Kimberly-Clark and Kenvue? That is the strategic question that's going to define the next era of this remade industry.
Thanks so much for joining this explainer. If you want to take a deeper dive, the full report is available from HDIN Research.